title of her lesson, From Copernicus to Siegel. Siegel. And what I'll do is, you got 15 minutes for this talk, so at 13 I'll put the white and at 15.
Thank you very much for coming this afternoon. I really appreciate your attendance. We are living in the most exciting and perhaps the most revolutionary time in the life of the Christian church. This is important to Unity people because it is what our founders wrote about from the beginning of the movement and what has attracted so many people to the Unity movement and to its teachings. From the time of Copernicus and Galileo, the compatibility of religion and science has caused problems for both religion and science. Science has thought of religion as that it did not give enough respect to the teachings and the efforts of science. Religion, on the other hand, doesn't want to subject itself to the scrutiny of science. Religion, the Christian religion, has the Bible as its authority, and for many people that is the answer, and science really has a tough time trying to convince people that the Bible isn't the sole authority for so many things. So we have a dichotomy, and both camps seem very much unwilling to give in to giving up their cherished beliefs. The Bible in the Christian church is a holy book. And it is a holy book. And we consider it in Unity a holy book. We consider it a story of our life. The story starts with the creation and goes on through the Old Testament and then picks up a different theme in the New Testament in that it teaches about the love of God and the grace of God. In the Bible, we make progress. And if we read the Bible, we see how we can make progress. The story of Cain and Abel in Genesis is one story that will give us a good example of what we mean by learning from what the Bible teaches. The story is in the 4th chapter of Genesis, and it shows the futility of jealousy and envy, and how important it is to watch that we do not become envious of other people. You will remember that Cain killed Abel because he was jealous of what Abel presented to God as a gift of the first fruits, instead of going and figuring out what would make his gift to God more presentable. He simply killed him. Of course, Cain was then banished from Nod and had to go on and live a life tilling the soil. Now, we know that the New and the Old Testament are our guides, and we use that. And the Bible is our guide. Science, on the other hand, requires that we do things a bit differently. Science would ask us to prove what we are believing in. And, of course, that is why scientists and Bible students can't really get along. The Bible is of the heart, is of the feeling nature, and science is of the intellect. This is not to say that scientists aren't feeling people. And this is not to say that religious people aren't intellects. It simply means that you take the Bible on faith. And Jesus asked us to do this. He said in Mark 10:15, "Verily I say unto you, whoever shall not receive the kingdom of God as a little child, he shall not enter therein." In other words, we are to have the faith of a child in order to take the teachings of the Bible. Faith is the important thing as far as the Bible is concerned and as far as religion is concerned. But Jesus didn't exactly leave us there. Jesus said something else, and I think people who have a scientific background could use this to their advantage. In the 16th chapter of John, the 12th verse, he said, "I have yet many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now." In other words, I think with Jesus' wonderful mind, with his advanced thinking, he knew that there were many things that the Bible did not contain, and that we should be willing to take them into consideration. Advances in science make this a better world in which to live. Science is the means by which we live longer, live more productively, live more comfortably than our ancestors. It is the reason there is enough food in the world to feed anyone and everyone. It isn't a matter of not enough. It's a matter of poor distribution. And as soon as science can figure out how to get this food around the world, there will be enough food to feed everyone. Science may not have been necessary to discover the continents of the world as Columbus did, but it took science to enable us to see world from outer space. We cannot live without science. Science and religion are coming together rather slowly. There are individuals and groups who do a good job of bringing science and religion together. Spindrift in Salem, Oregon is one of those organizations. Now, Spindrift does not deal with individuals. It is dealing with biology and botany. They have planted seeds in trays and prayed over them. The seeds in the control group, or the group that is not prayed over, did not sprout nearly as well in the first experiment as did the seeds that were prayed over. And I might add that the prayed over seeds were prayed over by Protestants and Catholics and using various kinds of prayers. Nobody was told how to pray. The seeds sprouted very well. There was another experiment made by these same people, and they experimented with seeds that were stressed or not expected to sprout very much. They prayed over a control group and a group that was, they had one group that was a control group and not prayed over, and then they had the group that was prayed over. It's surprising that the seeds that were prayed over sprouted abundantly, more abundantly than the seeds in the first group that were perfect and were expected to sprout no matter what. The Spindrift group also tested directed and non-directed prayer. Non-directed prayer is the thy will be done type of prayer. Whatever happens, happens. That prayer produced the best results. Well, now how does all this affect us, we say? Well, for one thing, it is of interest that these are scientifically replicated experiences that prove prayer works. Now, the medical field knows that prayer works, and every now and then they admit it. They might call it meditation, visualization, or by some other means, some other name, but it is still prayer in a certain sense. Norman Cousins was the first one, and his book, Anatomy of an Illness, started the ball rolling. There are others, and I would suggest you read Paul Pearsall, who wrote Superimmunity. Bernie Siegel has a couple of books, and Larry Dossey has Recovering of the Soul. All of these people prove that thoughts and prayers and meditation have power in the control of and healing of the sick. Dr. O. Carl Simonton leads the field in cancer research, and he proves that the power of thought and of visualization. He has stated in a recent interview, our bodies respond to the way we live, particularly our emotional relations to life. He goes on to say that there is a natural healing mechanism in the body, and knowing this helps us to take charge of the fear that would defeat that healing process. So religion and science are discovering the importance of our thinking to the health of mankind. Religion must welcome the use of science, and in turn, science must welcome the evaluation that it can give. Franklin Lohr, who is a noted theologian, has written a book, and I would recommend this to anyone who wants to find out what science and religion is all what religion as a science is all about. This booklet tells us that sooner or later, science and religion have to come together. Much of what we have learned long ago, he says in this book, is no longer sufficient. This includes science as well as religion. The authority of the fathers is being questioned. Tradition is being challenged. Personal experience is proving what is true and what is false. Speculation is bringing up all kinds of ideas. Intuition is telling us that we are on the right track. And revelation is telling us to forge ahead with these new ideas. Franklin Lohr would have us establish a science of religion. And science and religion are not as far apart as some people might think. Charles Fillmore encouraged science and religion and the participation of both in the religious beliefs. In Christian Healing, he said, there is a science in Christianity and it is only through the understanding of this science as a fundamental of Christianity that the Christ teachings can be fully demonstrated in the life of man. There is a gulf between high spiritual understanding and material manifestation. And it is only by bridging this gulf that science and religion can be reconciled. Science and religion working together may change the way the Bible is interpreted for many religious organizations, and they may not welcome this. But remember, Jesus said, I have many things to tell you, but you cannot bear them now. A generation ago, Alfred North Whitehead pointed out in Science and the Modern World, we are entering into a new age of reconstruction in religion, in science, and in political thought. Pope John Paul wrote, we are not meant to be prisoners of the past. Rather, we are to be pioneers of an exciting future. And think how wonderful it is that a Catholic Pope would tell us that we are not to be prisoners of the past. We're to be pioneers. Charles Fillmore tells us in his book, Prosperity, when we read statements about some of the recent discoveries of science, which everyone accepts and talks about, we are truly amazed. Such statements made by religionists would be called preposterous and unbelievable. Yet religion has been making the same statements in different ways for thousands of years. Now science is helping religion by proving them. So we see that there is a meeting of minds. And if only the participants in each camp would recognize it and come to work together, they could find a meeting ground. Sometimes current events play a part in the evolution of an idea whose time has come. Crisis and devastation produce answers required by both religion and science because they force answers. Everyone might not experience the same crisis. Not everyone is down in Florida, for instance. Not everyone is over in Somalia where they're starving. But those crises are very real indeed to the person going through them. Not everyone experiences out of control medical costs, starvation, and deprivation in the world. And not everyone is demanding alternative methods of healing. But some are. And that requires that religion and science start working together to cooperate to solve those problems. Both science and religion, have much to share with one another. Bernie Siegel, Norman Cousins, Paul Pearsall, Dr. Simonton. A hospital in St. Paul where visualization is curing children of cancer are proving that science and religion can come together. It is an idea whose time has come. And Jesus said, a long time ago, the fields are already ripe with harvest. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Dr.
So, this is a program sponsored by